Well, good morning. I'm here. I have some serious back problems today, but I'm still here. Um, I was running around. I think I told you guys, I do a 3 for 3 music thing every day, 7 days a week. It's on Facebook, Tumblr, and Blogger. Um, I pick an artist, I do three of their songs, make a little comment after it, and that's it. Well, when I got done today, I was back on YouTube, was just screwing around to see what stories were there, if anything interesting to talk about, and I came up with this song in the year 2525. Now, I listened to the song and then I started thinking. I said, our artists, our musicians, our storytellers have a way of predicting the future. They use their imagination now. They may say something and somebody else might pick it up and decide to, well, I can build a robot or I can do this based upon the influence the music had on them. Okay? Uh, if you look at 2025, it's like reading Orwell's 1984. Things in that song are happening now, not in the year 2525, but in the year 2024. So, this song was way, way ahead of its time. Written back in the 70s, I think. Um, but, songs mean a lot to people. I mean, I'm like that with Bob Dylan's music. I mean, just about every song he's done has some sort of, I can pick certain meanings out of it, certain historical influences or whatever that mean something to me. And people do that all the time with music, poetry, books. But I've read books and then I've seen things start to come true. I've watched the movies, The Terminator. I see that starting. That premise could come true. Some of it already has. 1984 by George Orwell. That's coming to pass. Handmaid's Tale. That there are people that believe in that, whether or not that'll ever come completely into society or not, I don't know. I don't predict the future. I have enough trouble with dealing with day-to-day stuff, but it's an amazing thing to do. Listen to the song 2025. Listen to watch a Terminator. Watch an Orwell. Read Orwell's book and stuff like that, and you see these. You're wondering, are these the Nostradamuses of their time? Nostradamus is supposed to be the most accurate predictor of future events. I forget how many years ago. It's hundreds of years ago. And he does it in quatrains, these little vignettes that he writes and can predict things. And a good portion of them come true. But I think anybody that thinks or has an imagination is quite capable of predicting the future. Because I'm one of these people that believes anything you can think of can and will happen at some time in the future. I personally don't remember specific events in my life that I thought would come later. But I do remember watching The Terminator and saying when that first came out, I said, that's our future. Because they were already discussing artificial intelligence back then. And artificial intelligence is, some of the great minds in the scientific community have considered that the greatest weapon or the greatest threat to humanity ever. And it makes sense. Because as it was explained to me when I was younger, artificial intelligence does not have the capability of empathy. So artificial intelligence is simply a black and white version of thought. There's no maybes, and artificial intelligence doesn't have the capacity to deal with maybes. Can deal with the fact that this might happen or that might happen. If such and such a thing is done, this could be the result. Yes, but sooner or later it picks this as a result. And why they say artificial intelligence is dangerous is because it's a thing called, if it becomes aware. I think that's the terminology they use. Aware means that it becomes knowledgeable of itself, that it knows it's what it is and what it's capable of, and it's just an awareness of self. It's hard for me to explain because I don't entirely understand how it happens, but it's not that they become human. They don't. They just understand how to fix themselves and things like that, and they're they become a sort of self-sufficient species. And when that happens, they sit down and they realize, how to guard themselves, what's their greatest threat against them, what's the greatest threat against the planet, if you put it in charge of the planet, what's the greatest, and the answer to that is us, humans. If you study history, the extinction events that have happened in history are all based on humans. The actual, some of these societies that just seem to vanish overnight may or may not have vanished overnight, but it's human fault is the reason they're not there anymore. Human emotions, and they're the reason they're not there anymore. Now, vanishing overnight is the spin they want to put on it when they say there's aliens involved in it. But a lot of that is that the history of the situation, these people were so isolated and whatnot at the time, that the history of events isn't there, so you can't trace it back to a specific event as a one-time event. It's the dinosaurs. They try to trace back to a what is it? A planetoid or a comet hitting the Earth, something like that. A great explosion, and that caused the problem for the dinosaurs. Maybe yes, maybe not. I think more about the fact that they couldn't adapt to certain situations caused that. Not that they were killed instantaneously and some disease spread out around and killed them. It was just their inability to adapt. Especially some of the large, because apparently dinosaurs, the larger they were, the dumber they were. I don't know. I wasn't there. It doesn't work that way with humans. I don't think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a dumb person. I think he's very smart. He's one of the tallest men around that I've ever met. Stood next to. So same thing with my brother. He was a big man. He was 6'4.5" inches tall. At the time, that was pretty big for a human being. He was a genius. So what do? Health has nothing to do with it either. Look at Stephen Hawkins. I mean, that man was in a wheelchair. He couldn't move. He couldn't talk. He talked through a computer. The fact that he was able to do that is an amazing thing. And he was a brilliant man. Stayed a brilliant man. And he's one of the ones that says that artificial intelligence is a huge threat to mankind, because it's like, what makes Donald Trump such a threat to democracy? He has no empathy for his fellow human beings. What does that make him, a sociopath? I think that's the terminology. I'm not sure. He's a lunatic. He's crazy. So that lack of empathy for your fellow man allows you to do things that you wouldn't, what we consider a normal human being wouldn't do. And that's the destruction of humanity, of democracy or humanity, what degree you want to take it to. But I think that you have people like Elon Musk, and there's a couple others out there that I don't, scientists and business people that are just diving headfirst into the artificial intelligence world and saying this is the greatest thing that ever happened. Well, they said the same thing when computers came out. All right, it's the greatest. But I'll tell you, this goes back to my own history. Now, I was born in 1946, so a lot has changed since then. you take an individual thought nowadays, and you can it can be anything you want it to be. But the thing that I remember most about growing up was my parents sitting there saying to me, you know, things are going to be so much better for you, and we want things to be so much better for you, and they will be so much better for you. More opportunity, yada 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 yada. So, and they still say that to kids today. But when I grew up, I had two parents. One of them, my mother stayed home. She didn't have to work to support the family. My father was capable of doing that. We weren't rich. We were what they call upper middle class, maybe, I think would be the best way to describe us at the time. And my father went bankrupt, and we still managed to say middle class. But then you get people going into debt, and the credit cards, you can buy anything you want. Everybody had to have a TV. Everybody had to have things. So now the pressure to be the same as to get what everybody else has made us become a two-parent working in order to survive. Not to live better, to survive. Two parents have to work. One parent working cannot support a family of 2 or 3 kids right now. Maybe one they can do, 2 they can't. All right, there's no way they're going to get to college. One of them, one of the kids is going to get deprived. You don't want that, so both parents go to work. Then there was the thing about college. You had to go, in order to get a job, you had to go to college. So if the kid has to go to college, where are you getting the money from? People go into debt. Debt became a way of life. But now, when I got to be 16, getting ready to graduate high school, both my parents, only one of my parents worked. Well, after few years after high school, my father died. My mom went to work. She had a lot of trouble because she'd been working when she was single, but now, 20, 30 years later, the whole world has changed. So everything was a lot harder for her and for women in general back then. But then things changed, and the better for women, especially single women. And now Trump wants to go back the other way, and he's not the only one. Looks like the whole Republican Party wants to set that standard back to the 50s, and doesn't work that way. I think that the cost of living is far too expensive for us to go take that step backward now. But I think a lot of the problems that we have with kids today is there aren't 2 parents in the household anymore, because they both have to work to survive, and there's tension that builds up there. It's not. Sunday dinners disappeared. Saturday at the movies disappeared. All this stuff disappeared. And I looked at the world, from my elderly position sitting here, and I'm saying to you, things didn't get that much better. Do we have better health care? Maybe, maybe no. Is it harder to get a doctor's appointment? Yeah. Does it cost more money to see the doctor? Yeah. Is health insurance any cheaper? No. So staying healthy is more expensive. You don't have the ability. I don't have. Kids today don't have the worry. What they call latchkey kids. They get a key. They go home, supposedly. And the more influential people, they go home to a nanny or a babysitter or a maid or something like that. But the average child that grew up with the income that I grew up in doesn't have that. They go home to an empty house. And that's like being single at the age of 12. You make some bad decisions then. Well, listen, I've been on here for a while, ranting and raving, but I hope you get the gist of it, But listen, next time you see a song like 25, 25, or you read a book, a science fiction book about the future, pay attention. You know, because there's the possibility that something in that book will come true, or something in that song is already coming true. All right, listen, have a great day. I don't think anything more is going to happen today. It's a Saturday, so we'll see you Sunday, tomorrow morning, and we'll see what's going on. Have a good one.